Good afternoon, everyone. Wish you all a very happy and healthy new year. In this new year, we continue with our tradition of sharing our monthly market outlook with you. If we look at global economy, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. The printing presses continue at the central bank. They are printing money at ferocious speed. And now combined balance sheet of Fed, ECB, and Bank of Japan is close to $25 trillion. With that kind of money power, obviously economies will do well. And global GDP in almost all parts of the world is likely to witness expansion thanks to this monetary boost. By virtue of this kind of money power, equity markets have run up, and you can clearly see that compared to past, the equity market speed is far higher. Market caps have run up in all parts of the world. However, it's not just that the stock prices have gone up, even the corporate earning is also showing increasing sign. And despite taking out the dip because of COVID-19, corporate earning is on the way up. Because companies are sitting on so much money and they are making so much profit, they are also likely to start making investment, and the world will see a new capex cycle. At the same time, there are certain red zones in market. Today, more than half of US growth stocks actually have negative earnings. That means they are getting valuation despite having negative earnings. No wonder equity risk premium has turned negative, first time since 2002. Next slide, please. And with that kind of money printing, there is no surprise that inflationary expectations have gone up in most developed world. Now, in the global economy, China plays an important role, and there is concern emerging around China's debt-fueled GDP growth. China is following the footsteps of Japan in terms of debt as a percentage of GDP. And here, government, households, and non-financial corporate all are heavily leveraged. And for producing $1 of GDP, China seems to be creating $4 of debt. We are at a conundrum. Stocks are at all-time high level. Home prices are at all-time high level in US. Crypto market cap has touched $3 trillion. Wages are near all-time high level. Job openings, there are more jobs than number of people. Inflation is also high at 5% plus. Junk bond yields are at all-time low. And yet Fed as of today is sitting on zero interest rates and continuing with their buying of government securities. At what point of time Fed will start taper tantrum or withdrawal of liquidity and rising of interest rates? That is the crucial question. Indian economy witnessed many positive headlines in the month of October. Services PMI rose to a 10-year high. Exports were up 42%. Net direct tax collection up 74% in this fiscal. Retail inflation came at 10-month low of 4.35%. And now Indian inflation is lower than American inflation. Fast tax collection reached a record almost say COVID level. UPI transaction crossed $100 billion in October. Uh, Made in India, Make in India started showing impact in color television segment. In property registration, Mumbai witnessed 10-year high number in September. Startups were receiving money. Diwali festival season was bumper Diwali and broke all records in last 10 years. And this was also visible in gold imports, which jumped multiple times to touch $24 billion in April to September 21. Clearly, for India, economic good news started coming in droves. Now, economic sentiment is positive because active cases have dropped significantly and vaccination has crossed 100 crore mark. The business resumption index now is above pre-pandemic level at 105.3. There is a little bit of deceleration from September to October, but hopefully that will be more seasonal in nature. The GST collection was second highest in its history at more than 1.3 lakh crore. The government spending is up about 60% year on year in the month of September. This is primarily driven by huge increase in tax collection, and fortunately government passed some of that tax collection bank by reducing import duty and excise duty on oil. This year the fiscal deficit is likely to be lower than budgeted estimate. Next slide please. The PMI number, not only in services but also in producers manufacturing index, both have gone up. The foreign direct investment led by private equity investment continues to remain strong, and we are now likely to exceed $50 billion private equity investments in FY22. The water reservoir levels are fairly good thanks to the late upsurge in monsoon, and Rabi season initial cropping is encouraging, which bodes well for rural economy. Next slide, please. The corporate profitability is on the upswing like it was between 2000 to 2008. And since 2020, the corporate profitability, despite COVID, has started improving. The ROEs are also likely to be rising consequent to rise in profitability. Next slide, please. The corporate balance sheets have started deleveraging thanks to the high profitability, and companies are now in a far better shape financially. Next slide, please. We believe economy will continue to get supported by real estate recovery. In work from home, people need extra house. Thanks to house prices stagnating, affordability has improved. Kotak Bank and other banks offer housing loan at 6.5%. And because of RERA, consumers are getting more confident about real estate sector. Put all these things together, real estate, construction, home improvement, this should become a positive cycle, supporting Indian growth on the higher side. The unemployment rose marginally in November. In September, it was roughly at about 6.7%. October went up marginally, November went up further. But we believe with this bumper Diwali season, hopefully unemployment should start coming below 7% level in the near term. The job situation in certain sectors like technology, pharma, IT services continues to remain robust. And one of the largest job hunting portal, Naukri, their index is showing significant recovery in job availability. This progress has been measured since 2014. If we see, the economic size has expanded from 10th to 6th largest, auto market from 7th to 4th largest, power generation from 4th to 3rd, mobile phone production from 12th to 2, and steel production from 4th to 2nd. This shows that the steps which we have taken in last 7-8 years have supported growth and created foundation for accelerated growth in the years to come. In emerging market table, we compare well vis-a-vis peers like China, Indonesia, Brazil, Philippines. Hopefully, this will be reflected into foreign portfolio investment flows in the quarters to come. One positive thing happening about India is our commitment at COP26 Climate Summit in Glasgow. We committed that by 2070, India will be target net zero. Now, this can position India as a ESG country, a country which is focused on environment. Our competitor, China and Russia, give a miss to this summit. Brazil and South Africa did attend, but failed to make any commitment. This whole commitment of India towards COP26 climate summit is likely to help us get better marks on the environmental, social, and governance model. In the words of John Chambers, if I'm betting on one country in Asia, it's India. If I'm betting on two countries in Asia, it's India twice. If we look at equity market, the small and mid cap continues to outperform large cap. And this is led mainly in this year between metal stocks, real estate stocks, and technology stocks. The FPIs, which are sellers in the month of November, on a 12-month basis has been fairly large buyer, and we believe after some amount of correction, they should become net buyers again. The domestic institutional investors continue to pour money into stock market after 4 quarters of negative sales. Now they have turned positive. Retail investors continue to be large buyers, though for the quarter ending September 21, they seem to have sold equity of about $2 billion. maybe retail investors are moving now from direct stocks to other products like cryptos or mutual funds. While our markets have risen, they have generally been in line with our share in the global market cap, and our share in global GDP has supported this market cap percentage in the global market cap. Peter Lynch, one of the legendary fund manager, said that everyone has the brain power to make money in stocks, but not everyone has the stomach. It talked about patient investing. And another quote which is worth remembering is that in bull markets, amateurs believe that market will never go down. And in bear market, they believe that it will never go up. We believe at this valuation level, market is neutral weight, and momentum wise also it is neutral weight. Markets are fairly priced. They are neither cheap nor expensive. If we look at global market cap to GDP ratio, it is 143%. Against that, our market cap to GDP ratio of 115% looks reasonable. On a price to earning basis, we are little above our historical average, but that is justifiable in the current situation of low interest rates. The India Inc. is reporting significantly higher profits quarter on quarter. Last 3 quarters, we have been averaging roughly about 2 lakh crore plus profit for NSE 500 company. And this trend is likely to be maintained for September 21 quarter. If we look at the annualized run rate of March 21 profitability, market is trading at about 26 times forward. If we believe some profit growth will occur, then this number can come further down. This is the most important slide. In FY21, despite negative GDP growth, corporate grew profit by 15% and Nifty EPS came at 542 rupees. In FY 2023, it is expected that Nifty EPS will be 873 rupees. This is driven by operating leverage, which companies are enjoying. And this makes market roughly about 17 months forward at 20 times P, neither cheap nor expensive. Some of the data on NSE 500 companies continue to show that companies are growing profitability, companies have become less leveraged, and companies are far better from a return on equity point of view. If there is valuation excess, it is visible in many of the cryptocurrencies and private equity venture capital market, where liquidity has played a significantly higher role in improving asset prices of many assets. At this point of time, this is time to be marginally overweight large cap, marginally underweight small and mid cap, but maintain neutral allocation to equities as an asset class. What are the concerns facing market? The first concern is taper tantrum. In 2013, Fed indicating taper tantrum brought correction in market. And now we are at the same stage where Fed might be considering raising interest rates, looking at the growth potential of US economy. However, unlike 2013, India is sitting on $640 billion of reserves. We are relatively better priced to tackle taper tantrum in 2021-22 compared to 2013-14. The second worry for market is rising inflation, which will prompt rise in interest rates and which will also reduce liquidity. All the three factors has direct impact on valuation, and India could get derated if inflation is very, very high. Third, based on the equity market valuation, three large brokerage houses, UBS, Morgan Stanley, and Nomura, have downgraded Indian markets to equal weight. This is kind of giving an indication to some FPIs to book their profit in India. Next slide, please. However, not all the brokerage houses have been bearish on India or recommending reduction. Chris Wood of Jefferies says India is the only market worth owning for next 10 years. And I'm sure all of you have read Dr. Mark Mobius's comment that India is in 50-year growth story. This is the earnings trend for corporate results declared, and all these things are pointing towards reasonably solid growth in corporate profitability. If we compare equity market, we will recommend you to invest in large cap fund like Kotak Blue Chip Fund, which by and large has outperformed its benchmark indices and delivered positive return. One can also look at Kotak Asset Allocator Fund. It has delivered double-digit return across 1, 3, 5, 7, and since inception. It has generated positive alpha, and it is fill it, shut it, forget it kind of fund. One can also consider a sectoral fund like Kotak Infrastructure and Economic Reform Fund. We believe capital goods and infrastructure companies will do well in the quarters to come. And this is pure infrastructure fund with no exposure to pharma technology kind of names. The Tech Saver Fund season for tech saving is approaching as we approach financial year end, and Kotak Tech Saver by and large has delivered double-digit return to investors with consistently generating alpha. One can look at innovation funds. You remember we had launched Kotak Global Innovation Fund, which in turn is investing into Wellington Global Innovation Fund. This fund gives exposure to innovative companies in India, in US, as well as outside of US, in companies from technology sector as well as outside of technology sector, and in large cap companies as well as small and mid cap companies. Since inception, this fund has delivered an alpha of about 12%, which is a fairly good track record. Our own fund, Kotak Pioneer Fund, has completed 2 years and it has delivered more than 90% return since inception. At the end of my presentation, I will request Harish to take you through some of the salient features of Kotak Pioneer Fund and also the learning of last 2 years journey. The question remains, should we invest in gold? Well, we believe it is time to be overweight gold. The 1-year rolling beta of gold miners index shows that gold mining companies as well as gold are appearing relatively better priced from a valuation point of view. Generally, when interest rates are low, gold prices do well. And while interest rates are rising in the near term, they are likely to remain below mean rates, which should be supportive of gold prices. If we compare gold vis-a-vis S&P 500, it is at historically lowest level in about 16 years, and hence it is time to be underweight US equity to overweight gold. In terms of gold prices, the technical chart suggests that there is potential of going a breakout above $1,850. Gold generally does well when inflation is high. And right now, we are at a stage where US inflation numbers on a monthly basis last month was higher than Indian inflation. Crypto has taken world by storm, and there are both opposites as well as positive views. This is the comment of Warren Buffett, who certainly is not a friend of cryptos. Globally, central bankers are putting more restriction on cryptos as they believe crypto is aiding people to move speculators. Next slide, please. This is one interesting chart of a cryptocurrency. Squid Game was a very popular Netflix serial. Based on that, someone launched a Squid Game cryptocurrency. It rose crazily like 230,000 percentage, and then it dropped 99.9% in just one single day. Coming to the fixed income market, while rates are rising slowly and steadily, carry continues to be the game to be played in fixed income market. Liquidity remains surplus. The banking system, thanks to robust flows, is upwards of 8 lakh crore in daily liquidity. Next slide, please. The inflation numbers have started falling down from big ticket, big handle of 6% to 5% to 4%. Hopefully, this will remain within that 4 to 6% range for some time to come. Globally, if we see central banks around the world are looking to raise interest rates, this is done mostly by emerging market central banks and less by developed market central banks. There is a very good chance that Indian government securities will get included in bond indices. If that happens, more money are expected to flow in Indian debt market. Next slide, please. This inclusion in bond index is likely to bring upwards of $15 billion on a yearly basis to Indian fixed income market. If we look at the shape of the yield curve, 3 to 5 year segment, 3 to 6 year segment continues to look better priced for rising interest rate scenario. If we look at state development loans, the carry there continues to be 60 basis point higher than government securities. RBI continues to perform a miracle, managing conflicting objectives like liquidity, interest rates, currency, stability of financial market, and ensuring that the borrowing program of government goes through. On the debt market, we believe interest rates will rise, but in a calibrated manner, as RBI will intervene aggressively to maintain shape of the yield curve. Next slide, please. In the debt market, if you are investing, ensure that your fund's investment horizon and your investment horizon matches. There's no point in taking mismatch in a rising interest rate environment. Next slide, please. Kotak Gilt Fund today gives you a balancing between carry, whereby we have invested into 6-year SDLs around, and we have also invested portfolio into floating rate bonds. Combination of this mid positioning with floating rate bond makes this fund appropriate against rising interest rates. This we can move forward. Kotak Dynamic Bond Fund is another fund where fund managers can trust investors can trust fund managers to manage volatility of interest rates and deliver good outperformance. Conservative debt investors can also look to move to hybrid funds. There are variety of hybrid funds available. Kotak Debt Hybrid Scheme, Kotak Equity Savings Scheme, and Kotak Equity Hybrid Scheme. These are some of the options depending upon risk return profile customers can choose from. In our opinion, this layering of hybrid funds can be also done by conservative investors, where in a cheap market, when markets have corrected, they can put money in Kotak Blue Chip Fund, which is 80 to 100% equity. They can go into Kotak Equity Hybrid Scheme, which is 65 to 80% equity, or they can go into Kotak Debt Hybrid Fund, which is 10 to 25% equity. Kotak Asset Allocator Fund aims to achieve the same. So either you can move in a cheap to expensive market in reducing your equity exposure, or let Kotak Asset Allocator Fund do it for you. Next slide, please. We continue to remain engaged with distributors through our YouTube channel. If you are not a subscriber, please click on the link given to become part of our YouTube family. Every time we share our videos, it will reach out to you and you will be in a position to get up-to-date information. You can also take advantage of Business Hub. This is where more than 18,000 IFAs have used this to enhance their business. Our ProStart video learning continues to share knowledge with distributors, and please enroll yourself for the ProStart YouTube channel to access any of this self-learning videos. You can reach out to us or you can connect with us through social media We are present across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much for all your support. I will now request my colleague Harish Krishnan to take you through the learnings of Kotak Pioneer Fund.
Thank you, sir. Avinash, can you please load those 4 slides of Kotak Pioneer, please? Thank you. So, friends, this week marked the second anniversary of Kotak Pioneer Fund. So, thanks to all your support and your investors' trust Kotak Pioneer during the last 2 years. Clearly, the last 2 years have seen significant ups and downs. Markets crashing, markets rising and surging significantly. Just kind of a recap as to what we kind of showcased in terms of what the offering of Kotak Pioneer was at the time of NFO and how it's kind of played out. So essentially, friends, Kotak Pioneer had two portions. One was the India portion and second was the overseas portion. And in the India portion, what we suggested was that even before COVID, India was going through this massive churn or a massive reset. And there were some companies in every sector that were doing phenomenally well. And while there were a whole bunch of other companies that were, focused on either debt repayment, a lot of issues. Basically, they were not adapting to the new reality of either change in the way businesses are being conducted or the new technologies that are being emerging. And therefore, we said that let us focus on these companies which are actually batting on the front foot and therefore using technology either to launch new products, to come up with innovative processes, or to have innovative business models to try and gain market share and mind share during that process. And that to our mind has played out very, very well. I think in a post-COVID environment, while initially there was definitely this entire thing that almost all stocks have done well in the last 1 year, etc. I would imagine that over the course of the next 12, 18, 24 months, reality will set in. It is a reasonably difficult economy still out there. And therefore, companies which are batting on the front foot will get rewarded a lot more. The second aspect that we focused on was clearly that of diversification. And what we essentially kept pointing out was that while this was a multi-cap offering within the Indian portion, we said that a lot of our universe of pioneering companies were in new age businesses, and a lot of old economy names, be it FMCG, old economy, steel, metals, cement, even traditional IT services, etc., or even traditional banks would be challenged, and a lot of new age business models will start coming through. So what that meant, friends, is that our universe was about 120 companies, which had a total market cap which was almost 1/3 of the total market cap of India. So therefore, this was a very focused universe that we were focusing on, which were in these evolving businesses. And we said that therefore the portfolio that will get constructed will be materially different from a typical multi-cap portfolio. In fact, today when we look at our own product suite of diversified funds, Kotak Pioneer would have maybe a 30% overlap compared to a lot of our other diversified multi-cap offering funds. So clearly, this is a very differentiated portfolio compared to the general portfolio, typically which is say 30-35% in financials, anywhere between 15 to 20% IT services, anywhere between say 7 to 10% in FMCG, maybe 5 to 10% in metals and cement, etc., and some PSUs, which is there in almost all portfolios, whereas this focuses on that residual 30% and blowing that up to get to the 100%. The third aspect clearly was that of international diversification. And here we had identified a fund called CI Signature Global Innovators Fund that invests globally. Friends, as we all know that most of the technology innovations that are happening really at the cutting edge are happening outside India, while Indian companies are also deploying a lot of resources. At the end of the day, what's happening out there in the Western world, especially, is quite unparalleled. Um, However, what we felt was that most Indian funds or most Indian exposure overseas is typically either dominated by what is known as the FANG names, which is Facebook, Alphabet, Amazon, Netflix, Google, etc., and maybe a Microsoft. Whereas this was a fund which has had almost anywhere between 5 to 10% in these FANG names, and the rest 90% in a lot of other emerging areas, including gaming, including robotics, including blockchain, including decentralized finance, including payments, and the gig economy, etc., which are shaping up very, very strongly and are really at the frontiers of new innovation. And the fourth aspect that we said was clearly this anywhere between 15 to 25% of exposure that we'll invest abroad will be parked in dollar assets, and therefore over a period of time, one will also get the benefit of any kind of rupee depreciation that comes through. So broadly, these four characteristics of the fund make it stand out from a portfolio point of view compared to a typical fund that is there in India. How is this played out? Next slide, please. So this is almost delivered close to about 100% return over the course of the last 2 years. And what has really worked for us has been that in the Indian portfolio, we focused on primarily companies which gain mind share using innovation. That leads to market share in the marketplace. That leads to revenue share, and that finally leads to profit share. These, especially during COVID times, when a lot of businesses were shut, demand kind of collapsed. Companies that continue to engage and maintain relevance to the customer were the ones that benefited the most when the economies opened up. And clearly, we are seeing across categories that companies which are batting on the front foot have taken significant mind share compared to the unorganized space, as well as into the rest of the players which are in the listed space. Over the last 2 years, the Indian portion has significantly outperformed both the diversified indices as well as the Indian benchmark quite handsomely. The second aspect was in terms of the international exposure, which has been anywhere between 15 to 20% of the fund since our inception. This is again, like I mentioned, going much beyond FANG, which is typically what most Indian investors are exposed to if at all they're investing abroad. And over here, clearly the underlying fund has done phenomenally well compared to even something like, say, a MSCI ACWI technology or a NASDAQ fund in dollar terms. And lastly, there has been a modest rupee depreciation of about 4%. So it's a combination of each of these factors. It is not only the international exposure or only the currency depreciation, but a combination of each of these that have really helped in terms of creating that kind of impact in terms of overall performance over the last 2 years. Next slide, please. In terms of the current positioning, as far as the Indian portion is concerned, we are currently about 55% in large cap and the balance is in mid and small caps. The performance over the last 2 years, just to kind of give you a sense, would be almost at par with possibly the best mid cap funds. So despite being operating in a multi-cap category, returns have been quite strong. Currently, our key overweights compared to a diversified index like, say, NSE 500 are primarily in auto and auto ancillary, capital good and industrial, digital plays, retailing, especially as we see the consumer opening up and revenge consumption coming through. Out of these four, clearly, as you would imagine, auto and capital goods have been laggards over the last 5 years. So this is not a fund which is only playing momentum. we think even in the basket of companies which are innovative, there will be transient headwinds that the sectors face. But as and when the sectoral headwinds turn into tailwinds, a lot of innovation focus that these companies do will bear fruit. And therefore, in our opinion, our investment into these two teams specifically should hold us in a reasonably good stead over the times to come. Similarly, we had a very large exposure in pharma and chemicals. When COVID struck, over the course of the last 6 to 9 months, we have reduced our exposure to pharma and chemicals within this portfolio. As far as global portfolio is concerned, like I explained, Fangam is just one small aspect of the overall portfolio. Lastly, we've highlighted even at the time of the NFO that there will be phases wherein either old economy does very well, either due to some catalyst like say state policies, etc. There will be phases when PSUs do well or metals do well, and these are all spaces where generally Kotak Pioneer Fund is reasonably under invested because we don't find too many opportunities of innovative companies in that aspect. And over the last 2 years, actually, these have been the places which have done reasonably well, given what has happened during COVID. And despite that, we've kind of performed, which therefore gives us greater confidence that as things normalize, we should have that benefit as well, hopefully coming through.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.